Hello, can you guys hear me? Oh, Christy, you're on mute.
Hi, ladies.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I have a weird day. I have my daughter's home for a couple weeks because they had like a COVID scare in her class, and so
yeah.
I was like trying to get her she's only 3, so it's like
Oh.
I was like, oh, time
right.
to watch a movie. High likelihood I'll have a little person come in during, and I'll just mute. Wait. Oh, sorry, I didn't turn my video. Hello. Good to see you.
You ladies can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Did you want me to take this down before you chat, or is everybody on the call visible?
Everyone's visible. I think it's fine.
Okay.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So we usually give I don't know, an extra few minutes for people to log in. I find most people aren't fully in until usually like 12:05 or so. So I'll just hang tight.
Oh, Nancy's on there.
Oh, sorry. Christy, are you monitoring the weight room? Okay.
There's nobody right now.
We had registrations for it, so we should have more people. If everyone's just running late.
On my screen, it says 4 people are entered.
Oh,
the
you're the
waiting
host
room.
now. Maybe you have to admit them.
Oh, I do.
Oh no. Okay. So it's not a co-host, it's a host.
Let me see here.
Because that'll be, if you want to transfer it back, we can let people in, but that's going to be hard for Liz to monitor the waiting room while she's talking. There's a co-host setting, but I don't know how to update that. Amanda, do you by chance?
Yeah, all of our meetings should be considered, or should have that setting now. But yeah, it looks
Let
like
me stop sharing, and then let me stop sharing, and then you can go in, and it still says I'm still the host. So
I'm trying.
Can you click on me, Liz, under more, and then make me the host?
Mm-hmm.
And then can do the waiting room stuff right now while we're figuring out how to make you a co-host.
Under more, where's that?
So if you, under participants, if you can open up the side view.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
Thank you. Did it allow you to click on more and then make me the host?
I don't see more. Where's more?
So under the participants, if you see my picture and you just kind of hover over it, there'll be like a mute and then a more. And then if you click on more, it'll give you the option to make me a host. Yay, okay. All right. So now I don't see the waiting room though, that's not good.
Oh, here.
I think it's at the top of the participant list.
I just admitted them.
I was gonna say, it's not showing up for me. So the host right now is Christy. So Christy will have to be admitting people. Christy, are you monitoring that? Okay. Oh, there's everybody.
Oh, I'm just
Hi,
wondering.
Nancy. Sorry, we weren't letting people in.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
I was like, where is everybody? And then it's like, we had the waiting room function. We weren't monitoring. Sorry, everybody. That looks better. All right.
I even started it a couple of times. I'm like, maybe it's not going through, but we're good.
Awesome, awesome. All right, well, we have a lot more people. There they all are. So, so my name's Shannon Badger. I think mostly everybody here I know. I don't see any new faces. So nice to see everybody today. It's like a gorgeous Thursday. So hopefully everyone's having a good day so far. And I'd like to introduce you to my dear friend Liz, who I met through NABO, which is a women business owner group here in town. And she's also a good friend of mine. We served on the board together for several years. And she's so generously offered to spend some time with us today. So Liz, would you like to take a minute just to introduce yourself, share a little bit about your background and your business?
Yeah, sure. So, and welcome everybody, and thank you so much, Shannon, for allowing me to present today. So again, I'm Liz Papagni, and I have a marketing branding firm here in San Antonio. And our firm does everything from building brands and messaging, logos, those types of things, as well as building marketing strategies, plans, all through the execution. We have a great team of individuals that do that for us. And we're really excited that we just launched a new service, and it's called Fractional CMO. And basically what that is we work with companies who don't have the luxury of having a senior marketing person on their staff. And we come in from a fractional basis and help them, put plans together, strategies together, and manage that portion of their team, as well as if we need to, we can either use my huge network of individuals to do execution, or we can use internal individuals, or we can help them build their team and their processes. So we're really excited about that. So that's, and I've been doing marketing for, I only say 20 years, and then I leave it at that. So
20 plus.
So that's me. I need to 20
Awesome.
plus. That's as far as I'll go.
Well, thank you. We need to figure out how we can monitor the waiting room plus make you a co-host. And so,
Okay.
so you can share your screen.
Okay.
Or if we make you a host, it'll give you a notification at the bottom if somebody joins, and you might just need to click the admit button. But hopefully, I think at this point we have mostly everyone that's going to join. So Christy, can you transfer the host to Liz so she can share her presentation, please? So everybody, there's a chat feature at the bottom of your screen. You can see there's a little bubble that says chat. So if you have a specific marketing question or challenge and you would like to post in the chat down there, like we'll monitor that and try to answer everybody's questions at the end. But we're going to ask, like while Liz walks through her presentation, we'll kind of hold questions, and then we'll try to field any marketing questions that you have.
All right, awesome. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to be talking about marketing today. There's a number of things, and hopefully it's probably going to be a lot of information, but we'll piece it out, make it as simplistic as possible. So let's dive right in. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Technology. Hold on. Presentation mode, Zoom doesn't like so much sometimes. So hold on.
It looks good on my screen though. I can see it well.
All right,
Yeah.
so hold on, I'm going to reshare.
All good.
It's just that when you share it, you can't sometimes go to the next screen, it freezes. So, all right. Okay, there we go. Let's get back on here. All right, I'm going to try share it this way and see what happens. And I'm going to do it from presentation mode then. All right, there we go. All right, so what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about some actionable takeaways. And what I mean by that is things that you can take from this presentation and immediately apply some of these things in your business. Because one of the things we want to do today is not only talk about what we're doing, but provide things that will be very helpful for you on an immediate basis. So the first thing we're going to talk about is why and how marketing strategy is a key pillar for your business growth. I know today, particularly in the economy we're in, a number of companies we say, well, we don't have the budget to do marketing right now. However, marketing now is good to do marketing on the downturn, because when the upswing starts happening, you're going to be so ahead of the game from your competition. So, and we're going to kind of walk through that. I'm going to talk about how to create a customer-centric plan that gets results. And those keywords are customer-centric, meaning that the customer only cares about them and what you're going to do for them. So when we're marketing, that's what we need to focus on. And then after we talk about the plan and those components, we're really going to talk about unraveling the digital marketing puzzle. I know a lot of companies struggle with that. They dip their toe in there. They try to do things. So we're going to really kind of talk about how do we do that for effective communication and outreach. And then, like Shannon said at the end, we're going to answer a bunch of questions. And if you have those, go ahead and put in the chat. Because what we really want to do today is we want this to be collaborative. We want to be able to provide value. And then we want to be able to help you today and answer the questions that you have. Okay. All right. So, oh, geez, here we go. It's frozen again. I'm going to take it out of presentation mode because I think it'll still continue to happen. Better. So, yep, I'm going to take it out. All right, so I know you can see my screen. It's not going to be as big, but so.
Okay, we can see it.
All right, technology. All right, so let's start with why marketing. I really want to have a, so as an agency, we have we've been doing this for many years, and there's certain things that we've seen over the years in terms, marketing could have a really broad term, but what we have found and how we're defining it is really marketing's the act of encouraging, shifting, or changing behavior to drive purchase consideration for your product and service. It's as simple as that. What we message, what we say, how we look, it's really about trying to encourage them to purchase our product by changing their behavior. And when we do that, by encouraging and shifting that behavior, that enables you to deliver on your company vision, goals, and your objectives. And if you can deliver on those vision, goals, and objectives, then as such, marketing is a key driver of your business. So it's kind of, we wanted to break it down very simple. We focus on changing behavior, that's going to help us reach the goals that we need to, because people are going to come to us, they're going to like us, and they're going to purchase from us. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about in terms of marketing is strategy. we always say that if you don't know where you're going, how do you know how to get there? Pretty simple. So unfortunately, a lot of companies start at the tactical level. They say, oh, we got to do social media, or we got to do this press release, or we got to do this print, in the publication. But what happens is if we start at that tactical level and we don't have a strategy around that, then we're wasting our time and we're wasting our budget, because we're just trying to get to the result without doing the homework first in order to make sure, should we be doing a print advertising? Should we be doing social media? We need to know first before we go. And really what it helps you do, it helps you build a foundation for the purpose of that marketing. It's usually the umbrella of all your marketing plans, your actions, and how you're going to meet your overall goals and your objectives. So that's why strategy really needs to come first. So how do we do that? We know that needs to come first. What are the components of that strategy that we should really be looking at when we're looking at marketing? So the first component is your why. And what we mean by that, there's 3 pillars of that. One is the vision of your company. Where are you now and where do you want to go? If we don't know what that vision is, then how are we actually going to market our company? So it's really important to know what your vision is. And I know today, this past year, a lot of companies are making some pivots. They're changing things. They're looking at doing different things, which obviously is overall going to change their vision. So we really need to have a solid understanding of what that is for your company. The second thing is what's your promise? What are you promising to your customers that you're going to deliver, or how you're going to serve them? What is your product going to do? So we need to make sure that we're really clear on what that promise is, because that's why one of the reasons why people are going to come to us. And then the third thing we call it is your secret sauce. Not only it is your promise, but why are you different than other competitors in your marketplace? You really need to know that. Not only where you're going to go, what your promise is, but why are you different? Because that is what's also going to encourage your target and your prospects to come to your company. So that's a key pillar of building a strategy, is understanding your why and the components behind that. The second component is your offering. And what I mean by that is, where is your product and service focus? What are you focusing on? In this particular part of that strategy is really, you need to determine what your key products and services that you want to focus on to promote. How can you do this? What are some ideas on how you can do this? Well, what are your best selling products, or what is your bread and butter products? What sells most? What are your bread and butter? Should we focus on them? Probably, because they're the ones that are bringing in consistent revenue. So that should be a focus. Take into account your typical sales cycle. Oh, can you guys see my notes?
Yes, we can.
Oh,
I thought that was a good thing.
okay. Oh, okay, good. All right, good. All right, let's leave them there.
I think
So
it's good
then you
because
need
it's
to
just reinforcing what you're saying and helping.
All right, great. All right. So what's your typical sales cycle? You have short-term goals and long-term goals. You need to take that into consideration. You need to align your marketing with your sales efforts. You can market all day, but if your sales organization is doing something different, then there's a disconnect, and you're marketing something that you're not selling, or you're not making those synergistic groups together. You also have to look at your operations of your company, particularly if you're producing a product, because those products can have cycles. If you're developing products, you need to know when they're coming out, when they're going to be available, are there peaks, are there valleys, because that's going to dictate not only your sales efforts, but it's going to dictate your marketing efforts as well. And then one of the things is once you figure that out, you really need to map out a focused timeline, particularly if you have a seasonal business, because then you're going to have fluctuations in revenue, which means you're going to have fluctuation in your operations, your sales, as well as your marketing. So you need to kind of figure that out as well. And what if you're launching a new product? Then not only do you have to look at your overall marketing, then you're going to have to look at, I have this new product or service coming out. That means I also have to develop a go-to-market strategy that's going to be part of my overall strategy that I need to focus on. So I like to give examples when I'm presenting, so we can kind of take a look at all the stuff that we're talking about into an example. So I usually use some client examples. So I have a client who is it's in the medical equipment industry, And probably about 2 or 3 years ago, they purchased other companies around the United States that had different disciplines. And then they wanted to bring all those companies together because they wanted to be an end-to-end solution. Their primary focus was on medical equipment. I mean, big medical equipment like hospital beds, monitors, those types of things. But they also had a logistics part of their business where not only can they purchase the product, house it, they can also distribute it, they can set up all the facilities from soup to nuts. So what we did is when we worked with them is we had to rebuild their brand, really launch their brands, but at the same time, we still had to focus on the individual businesses and individual disciplines at one time. So when we were putting a plan together, we were focusing on keeping the business moving, continue those sales while we're building this whole other side of a new company to launch nationally. So that's a great example in terms of when you're looking at strategy and offerings. You know, we had to look at the individual offerings as well as the full suite of offerings prior to, as we're launching actually a whole new company. So that's a good example about how you can kind of go about when we're talking about offerings. So the next part is your target. So I'm sure everybody knows who their customers are, who their targets are, but one of the key things that we talk about is who's your best fit customer? What do they really look like? Because those are the individuals that have been with you for a while. You guys like working together. They're bringing revenue, but not only revenue, profit, because profit is very important. Revenue could be great, but if you're not making money on that revenue, then it's not going to work from a business perspective. So what are some ways to do that? So if you market your product or service to the consumer, you can look at demographics. That's like age, income, household income, children, non-children. Look at their lifestyle characteristics. What lifestyle are they in? What life stage they're in? If you're a business, you look at firmographics. That means geography, industry type, market type. Look at the person that you go after. What's their title? What's their position? What's their responsibilities? That's one way to do it. Another way to model your best customers is that you want to create, once you do that, then you want to create lookalike audiences. I know who my best customers are. This is what I want them to look like. Then let me find other people that actually look that look the same and do that. And then you can kind of look at your products and services. You need to look at what problem you're solving for those individuals. Another great way is for consumers. You can look at, there's lots of generational models out there right now. And, baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, Generation C, because they have certain profiles, certain characteristics, particularly on what they look for, how they buy within those particular generations. And I'll provide my contact information at the end, but if you go to our agency website, we build a lot of content. We have a lot of blogs that have a lot of information there for you, and we do a lot of profiling of these different segments. It's interesting. We just actually launched a blog about baby boomers, how they are not being targeted digitally. And there's some really great statistics in there that they actually are online. They are buying digitally. They're a little hesitant on some things. So a lot of people think, oh, millennials, Generation Z, they're the only ones online. Well, they're really not. So that's just really interesting because there's a psyche behind that. From a business perspective, you can look at market trends, specific industry needs and works or descriptions, job things. And then the other thing about your target, it's not just who your best customers are and your lookalikes, but you have to think about their sphere of influence. Who are they looking for to make decisions? If you're going after consumers, it could be, their friends, their families, other moms. So you need to not only map out your best fit customers and your customers, but you also have to look at their fears or your fear of influence, because you have to impact them as well, because that's who they're going to go to when they have questions or they want to make decisions. So you also have to map that out as well. So the next one is your markets. So what markets do you sell your products and services in? Are there industry sectors like retail, e-commerce, distributors, resellers? Are they geographically specific? So you have to kind of really know where they are, because not only who they are, but where they are, because that's going to dictate your marketing as well in terms of when you do your planning. Are you coming out with a new product or service like we talked about earlier? From a market perspective, should we consider a test market? Should we be testing it first before we roll it out? You know, if you're going to do that, look at the highest concentration of your target, look at favorable markets. Maybe if you do have a product or service, maybe you need to look at a pilot program. Maybe you need to look at a pilot. You have a current reseller, distributor, or partner that you're currently working with, then maybe you need to, you know, develop a partner program with them to show proof of concept. So, or you need to breathe life into a falling market. That's a way to do that too. If you have a market that you're not so good in, maybe that's where the focus needs to be in order to build that market up by using those customer lookalikes and things like that that worked for you possibly in another market. So I wanted to give you another example of a client that we have, and this is in the food and beverage space, where they do a lot of stuff through retail and they do stuff through e-commerce as well. But they had one retailer partner that was a really good, loyal partner for them that distributed a lot of their products. And they have other retailers as well. But because they had such a good relationship with them, we did a huge pilot program to show the power of what marketing can do for that particular retailer. So we built a whole program around that particular retailer in those geographic locations. We did a lot of online, mobile, digital. We did a lot of influencers as well, influencer types of things, in order to, so one, they can get more distribution with that particular retailer, but use that as a case study to go and get additional retailers or expand their reach with additional retailers. So that was a really successful pilot for us. We got a lot of engagement on that, a lot of reach. We actually, with that particular partner, increased their sales by 53% during that 3-month time frame. So that was a great case study for them to take to other retailers to prove that they were going to support the product, and it was really going to increase that retailer sales. So that's just an example of how you can kind of do that from a pilot program, you know, and do some testing. So the next part of this is we're really going to talk about, so once we develop, you know, what our why is, who we are, what our target looks like, where our markets are and what we're going to focus, now it's time to take that information and now we need to market that information. This is the time we're actually going to start developing how we're going to market that information. How are we going to reach the right, you know, the right fit customers in the right medium with the right message? So how do we do that? So let's talk about the messaging component. So when we talk about messaging, a lot of companies have the habit of touting their product or their service features and benefits. But really, like I said earlier, the customer doesn't really care about that so much. They really care about the benefit and value that you're going to bring and the problem that you're going to solve for them or a challenge that you're going to solve for them. So the best thing is not only doing benefit value messaging, but also why is your company uniquely poised, meaning unique? What is that promise? What's that differentiation that we talked about earlier in the planning process? We're bringing in all that work that we did from a strategy. Now we're bringing it down to here and why you're different than the competition. And I really like to give example on this. This is a bigger company, obviously Apple, because, you know, when Steve Jobs actually expressed that he actually created Apple, not to primarily sell products, but he wanted to create Apple to provide innovation, connectivity, and a new way of communicating. He really created a lifestyle. If you look at their tagline, when they started the company to their tagline as of today, it's think different. It's talking about that innovation. It's talking about doing, connecting in different ways. And then, and really he created a way of life. He created an experience. So that's why you see so many people when they're launching a new phone, you see so many people waiting in line sometimes overnight, because they want that experience. They want that lifestyle. That's why he's creating it. And if you go into any Apple store, when you immediately walk in there, you feel all that energy, you feel that collaboration and that excitement. And, you know, statistics say whether you're buying for business or buying for personal, you're 100% buying by emotion. So when we're doing our messaging, we need to make sure that not only is it relevant to them, but we're building that excitement and that emotion. And then also, when you're creating that message, you want to make sure that you're taking into account the brand that you currently have, the value, and the promise, because that not only is your umbrella brand of your company, but that has to extend through everything that you do, through every service that you provide, and every market that you provide. So an easy way to go about doing this is kind of just putting in a hierarchy together, just like you would with a hierarchy in a company. Who's the president? You know, who's the CEO? And really look at it. You have your umbrella, you have your umbrella brand up here. You have your product or service coming down, and then underneath those product and services, you map out who your target audience is. And then underneath that, you map out those messages that you're going to go after with those particular product and services while you're still bringing in your brand messaging and your value and things like that. So it's really easy kind of building a whole messaging hierarchy and helping you map that out. Okay. And then the next component is once we have all that information, then it's time to develop our plan. This is where the actual tactics come in. You'll notice we went through a whole series of building strategies and targets and markets and messaging. We didn't talk anything about social media. We didn't talk about anything about print advertising at that point, because we have to build the right foundation in order for that plan and those tactics to do the best that they can, and for your budget, the budget that you're spending, to be most effective. So let's talk a little bit about the plan. So when you look at it, you have to not only look at the channels that you're looking at, you have to look at those channels that your particular target are going to deem credible, that they're looking for information, and that they're researching for purchasing decisions. So let's use a hypothetical example on that. So if I'm a senior that's kind of 75 or more, right? Or I'm going to let somebody in, hold on. And then if I'm a millennial, a younger millennial, because older millennials actually are acting like Generation X right now because they have children and all that kind of stuff. So if I'm a young millennial, I do everything online. I don't do anything without my phone, right? But if I'm a senior, I'm not touching my phone. They just don't, some of them don't even have smartphones, right? So they're just using it as a telephone, basically. So if I'm going to communicate to a senior, I'm certainly not going to be creating a plan that's online. I'm going to be doing traditional stuff like TV, print, newspaper, that kind of stuff. So when you build your plan and you're looking at those marketing channels, make sure that your target is there. Part of that is when you're building that plan, make sure you're building in your measurements, your KPIs. What are we going to measure? How are we going to measure it? And what is going to be our end goal? And it doesn't always have to be how much money am I making or how much revenue it is. You have to put KPIs on everything you do. Maybe it's impressions, maybe it's engagement, those types of things. But make sure that you outline your measurements, because a fluid plan has to be analyzed and optimized on a regular basis, because things may change and we have to be flexible and we have to be nimble to move our stuff around in order to be most effective. Okay, and then launch your plan. And like I said, just make sure you're always measuring and optimizing to make sure that it's working, because we don't want to spend our money in something that isn't being effective, because our budget's our budget and we want to get it the most we can out of that budget. So then when we put it all together, that's kind of like our 360-degree approach to marketing. If we're going to build a marketing strategy, let's do it right. Let's figure out our why. Let's figure out our offerings. Who's our target? What's our market? What's our message? And what's our plan? Because that's going to be the most effective thing that you can do. And really, it really doesn't have to be that hard and complicated. It's if you take it step by step and you know the reason why you're doing that step, one step is going to lead into the next step, because you're going to have that information. So it's not hard. It's just following the process, following the framework to get where you need to be. It may take you probably a little bit more time than saying, hey, can you get me on social media? You know, it might take you a little bit more time than that. But in the end, you're going to reap the benefits you're going to reap are going to be so much better than if you don't plan. So, okay. So the next thing, so that's the strategy. That's how we build the marketing strategy. So what I really wanted to talk a little bit more about is to get a little bit more granular for you in the digital space, because I know a lot of companies struggle with that. So I really wanted to really talk a little bit about that to kind of help you look at some of maybe the top tier things that we see that help a majority of companies, if that's where their target is. Okay, so so let's talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of digital. So really, the nuts and bolts of digital is really to be found and heard by the target that you're going after. It helps you do that. Digital is a much more cost-effective medium. You could probably get a broader reach of the target that you're going after for less, for a more cost-effective means than other things. Only if that's where that target is you're going after. If not, then we have to look at other means. But so it really helps build relationships and drive actions for engagement, interaction, and purchase intent. So, and it really helps you segment your target more granularly than some other mediums. I mean, print, you can only target so granular as terms of what specifications they have on the rate card of that publication. TV's gotten a lot better. There's programmable TV and stuff like that where you can do it, but still it's a little bit of a broad medium. So it really enables you to do that. It enables you to bring a bigger mass more cost effectively. And the really great thing is that we can get really real-time optimization. So we can do optimization, I wouldn't say on an hourly basis because you got to let things run for a while, but you can really do it sometimes in real time because we can be moving stuff around, optimizing, moving budget around on a real-time basis. So we're effectively using the money most effectively. And digital has unmatched data and insights. Us as an agency, data is king we're kind of, data geeks because we really look at the data, because what we want to do is we want to make sure we're giving our clients data in order so we know not only for us to be accountable for what we're doing, but also so we can make decisions that are based upon data, because data doesn't lie. Well, I don't know, we're in the election now, data might lie, but anyway, data doesn't lie. So we can make decisions with our clients together based upon data instead of on whims, that's how we've always done it, or that's how we think we do it, or it's an educated guess. We can kind of sometimes have really good quantifiable data to make decisions, based upon what we're going to do. So that's kind of where digital is. That's kind of like the nuts and bolts of what we're looking at. The second thing, whether you're going to use digital or not, having and investing in a good quality website is paramount today. If your company does not have a website, and a good website that directly from a visual perspective and a messaging perspective is what your team stands for and what you provide, then it's suspect today. If people are searching for stuff and your website doesn't work, or it's slow, or it looks dated, and saying, well, I know that company, but that website I don't think that that's what it looks like. It could hurt your business. So some statistics, on that is 80% of people, look at websites when choosing potential service providers. That's huge. 90% of B2B buyers, which would probably surprise individuals, but 99% of buyers will buy again from the same vendor if they have superior mobile experience, because today, when you build a website, it's really not just for shareware. It has to be mobile friendly because people use their phones probably more than anything else. So when they're searching and stuff, so it has to be mobile friendly. Actually, Google and the search engines probably won't even recognize your site or rank your site in any way if it's not mobile today. So you can have a site, and if it's not mobile friendly, no one knows it's there. So, and really, and this statistics doesn't surprise me, only 42% of companies have a mobile optimized site. That's a huge number, and they're missing out on people that are online searching for whatever they're searching for that you have, and you're not being even seen. So today, visitors expect a quality website when they find you online. It doesn't mean you'll need to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a website. That's not needed. Depending upon what your business is, if you're an e-commerce site, yes, your website's going to be more because there has to be a whole e-commerce engine on there, purchasing and that kind of stuff. But if you're not an e-commerce company, you can get a really nice, highly functioning site that's not going to cost you a lot. It's not going to cost you a lot of money to do that. It is an investment, but it's not tens of thousands of dollars to do that if you're not an e-commerce site. Okay. The next thing is we want to pay attention to SEM. So what does that mean, Liz? SEM is search engine marketing. So like I was saying, those are individuals that are on whatever the search engine, searching keywords, searching phrases, searching for what you provide. And there's two main strategies on that. So if you can visualize yourself when you're searching, because everybody does when you're on Google, you'll notice there's, you know, the holy grail, there's two types. There's paid advertising and there's organic. So when you go onto Google and you see those top 3 ads that come up that say ad, you know, in the little corner, that's paid search. And that's a strategy that individuals use when they want to be at the top of, you know, when they want to be at the top 3 positions on Google or whatever search engine. You need to bid on keywords, and you have to pay to get there. The other thing is all that other stuff that's underneath those paid ads is called organic. So you're not paying for keywords, you're automatically getting there, but there's a lot of stuff that goes in. Just because you put up your website doesn't mean you're going to come up on, you know, the whole goal is to come up on page 1 in the first 3 organic slots up there. But you're not going to get there if you're not working with a team or working with somebody that understands all the algorithms on all the search engines, and they can continue to optimize on a regular basis to know what people are searching, changing out keywords, changing out all this stuff in order to get you to page 1. So there's a whole thing that happens on the back end. Putting up a website isn't going to get you traffic. So you kind of got to work on that. So I wanted to call attention to that because that directly relates to your website. You can't just put that nice looking website up and think that things are going to happen. You got to do some work in order to make that happen. So the next thing is the power of social. And I know everybody kind of knows what that is. I mean, the numbers today are astounding. It's like almost 4 billion people use social media, 4 billion. 60% of those individuals investigate businesses on all of the channel, you know, the main channels. 63 million, and LinkedIn is more of a B2B, is definitely B2B. If you're going after, 63 million LinkedIn users make company purchases, and 90 million are senior level influencers of company decision makers. That's a huge channel if you're doing B2B. So one of the things that I want to stress about social media is that social media is created because it's social. It's building community. It's building relationships. Okay. And that's the purpose of it. And that's what some people think. So some people think, well, I'm going to create all this content. I'm going to have my channels and I'm going to post all this great content. Well, guess what? That's great. But if you don't drive fans and you don't drive followers to there, then no one's going to see it. And unfortunately today, even if you have fans and you create organic content, less than 3% of those individuals will actually see that content in their feed. So from a social perspective today, it's a pay-to-play medium. Creating organic content's great, but if you don't have a robust social advertising engine that's not only going to drive more fans and followers to build your community, to build your influence, but we also, as an agency, use social media to drive revenue, to drive leads, to drive people to website, to drive individuals to offers, because we need to get them in the top of the sales funnel. We're using them to get into the top of the sales funnel. And unless you have an e-commerce site where you have a great offer, we can sell them right in Instagram and Facebook. We can sell them right into in the channel itself. So my emphasis on this is that social is great. It is a community builder, but if you're not doing advertising and you're not doing it right and you're not optimizing it, you're kind of wasting your effort and time if you have somebody internally, or maybe even you, that's just trying to develop content on social, because you're kind of wasting your time. So, and the other thing I want to talk about this for social as well is there's a huge influencer programs from a social digital perspective. Remember when we talked about the target audience, not only reach your target, but also reach your influential chain? When we're talking about social, and we're talking about digital influencer programs come in key, because those are individuals that it's kind of like a viral marketing type of component where you get influencers that are in your industry that say what you're saying or in your target, their fans, because really what we want to try to do is we want to use that viral component from a cost-effective perspective to get to their fans that they have online for a nominal fee. So we always say that if we're going to do a robust digital platform, we have to really consider influencers because they're brand ambassadors. They'll talk about our brand, they'll post about our brand, and we get all that viral component from the people that are already part of their communities. And that also builds more community, more influence, more relationships. So, so that's a key that I wanted to talk about social as well. And then the last thing on the key pillars of digital that I really want to talk about is content. When we're talking about content, it's everything that we're creating, whether it's on social or messaging and things like that. So without us saying about who we are and how to our potential buyers, then they're not going to know. So some statistics about content. 69% of successful B2B marketers have a documented content marketing strategy. So part of our overall marketing strategy is not only what we talked about, but we have to really make sure it's not just our messaging, but what is all the content that we're going to share and how that's going to happen. And then it says 80% of decision makers favor getting brand information via an article series from their ads. So they really want to know about you, about what you're doing. Remember, I said not benefits and features. I said value, benefit, all about them. So that's really key. And there's ways to go about doing this. You can map out your content strategy. I don't want to go into all of that. It's just that content is crucial. It has to be on message. It has to be target driven. And there's got to be a strategy around that, even an offer strategy, an influencer strategy. Okay. So what do we do with all this information? How do we know how to do this? Who do we talk to about this? So I want to talk about, the last thing I want to talk about is how do I take action? How do I reap the rewards of what we've talked about today? And the best way to do that is choose the right partner or the right individual in order to do this. But how do you know? If I say, okay, that's great, but what do I ask them? You know, what are key things that I ask them? What should I know about them? So what we did is I wanted to put a checklist together for you to help you. I understand this is a lot of information, but you know, within a company, particularly today into the economic conditions we're going through, this is really important for us to do because this builds really a good foundation for our company. So what do I need to look for? So, you know, either look for a seasoned marketing and branding professional, an individual and or an agency who has years of experience doing this, developing strategies, developing plans, doing execution and understanding how all these pieces come together. Because you can't work in a silo, you can't be doing things, if the things aren't synergistic, then things aren't going to work together, and it's going to take more money, and it's going to take more effort. You really want to make sure things are done synergistically. Make sure that the individual and or the agency that you work with is metrics driven, and they can provide quantifiable, proven results and provide credibility and proof of their work and success. So make sure if you're choosing somebody that you make sure that you can look at case studies, you look at testimonials, you look at references, make sure that they are delivering on what they say they are delivering on. Then one of the things is from our perspective is make sure they have a client portfolio, or if you're working with an individual, background in terms of what you're looking at that encompasses diverse industries with both B2B and B2C. Because you might be in a specific target, you're in a specific market, and you say, well, I need to hire somebody that, say you're in the real estate market. I need to hire somebody that really understands the real estate market. That's great, but what happens is that if they don't have the breadth of experience in other markets and other industries, then they're not going to have nimbleness, they're not going to have flexibility to bring a fresh approach. Because from a marketing perspective, if you understand the marketing framework, how to build strategies, how to build plans, you have experience in that, you have accountability, you have shown results, then you can take all that knowledge and bring that to any industry. So you're not going to be tied into somebody that just knows the industries and in and outs. Now, there are benefits of doing that. But by working with somebody that may not have experience in that industry, but understands how it all works together, that is probably a better decision because they're going to bring a lot more fresh ideas to the table, not only what you've done in the past, but more, and that's going to help you. So that's kind of, 4 key things that we think could help you in terms of making, that decision. So I think right now we're going to take questions. Do I have to look in the chat?
I didn't see any specific questions come across yet.
Yeah, I don't see any specific questions. Yeah.
I had one. So one thing that we've talked a lot about internally is like niching specific industries. And so like just with your background and experience, like if you're in like professional services or something like that, do you generally recommend clients to niche that specifically, or do you like to focus more on verticals, or like, do you have just thoughts on that?
I would say that I don't know your particular situation, but I would say that I would go back to looking at you as a company. Where do you want to go? Right? Where do you want to go? Where your vision is, and what are what are your clients today? And look at that first. Now, if there's particular clients, like your best client is in a specific industry, right? Then maybe you want to. I think for you, I don't necessarily know if I would niche in a certain market, because what you do is broad. A lot of different people need that, right? I think for you, it would probably be more looking at the services that you provide, right? So maybe you map out, because you have very different, I mean, your services work together, but I know you have fractional CFO, right? That's not, you're not going to be doing you're going to be doing their accounting in some instances, but you're not going to sell them that. You're selling in the C-suite, right? So I think for you, and the good thing with yours is all your services come together. So you have different entry points is what I'm saying. You have different entry points into different companies and different industries. So for you, I would maybe promote different offerings, right? And go it that way, knowing that those other offerings may come as you do that. And then kind of take a look at your client breakout and see what kind of companies are using those services, see what those kind of client makeup is. And then I would go after those lookalike clients in those bucket of services that you have. I don't know that's kind of what I wouldn't niche as a company. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's great feedback.
So, any other questions?
Yeah. Anyone else?
I do have a question. I'm Susie, accounting manager with Badger. And
hi.
I've dealt with a lot of communications and marketing in the past. And so one of the things that I found it hard was convincing our clients the value of marketing, because they're thinking top dollar, how much am I not accessing by not doing marketing, if that makes sense. And so one of the things that I think was always hard is identifying the dollar figure that they're losing out on by not being on social media, by not updating their website. Because if you're having conversations with owners of companies and CEOs, they're pretty much, well, we have a good stream of revenue, it's mouth to mouth, or we have good referrals, we're okay. But it was that identifying, oh no, you're losing out on a lot, especially in 2020. And how would you go about identifying that at the very beginning?
I mean, I think that from that perspective, you kind of can re-engineer that, and you can say, okay, what is the lifetime value of your customer that you have currently right now? What's the lifetime value? Because they're looking at it, I'm going to spend all this money, and what am I going to get out of it, right? Because I'm comfortable now, or what am I missing out on? Well, then my thought is let's re-engineer that and say, what is the cost of a lifetime customer that you have right now? And is it worth spending that amount of money? And I think in that situation, I would probably approach that let's do a pilot. Let's see let's see if we go out there and let's do a pilot and let's see what happens, right? Because then if say your lifetime value of your client's like $200,000 or $300,000 or whatever, right? And you could be missing out on a client that has a lifetime value of hundreds of thousands of dollars. You could be reaching somebody that doesn't even know who you are, or even that you exist, or what your product offering is, and you're losing out on this amount of money. Is it worth to spend maybe half or a quarter of that to get it?
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Liz, I have a question.
Yes, Nancy.
Hello.
Hi.
My business doesn't really have a budget for marketing. I know it's horrible.
Don't apologize.
I'm admitting it. My name is Nancy, and I don't have a a budget for marketing, but I'd like to get one started for next year.
Yeah.
And I don't know what would be a good amount. I have some marketing flyers, and I have some folders that I want to put together so that we can hand it to customers. There's a lot of little things that I've started, but I have a website and I have a Facebook page, which doesn't get updated regularly. So in trying to get all of this set up, I wanted I want to get it going, but I need to figure out what kind of marketing budget to set up. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you need to talk with somebody. I mean, you have collateral, because if you don't know what the cost is related to any of those items, it's really going to be hard for you to put something together, right? So what I think I'm hearing, I think there's a company bucket where you have to kind of relook at your website, get some collateral done. You know, you have sales support stuff that you really need to do, is what I'm hearing, right? To give to customers and that kind of stuff. But I also think there's an exercise where, who is your customer? You know, who is your customer? What do they look like? And, you know, what are they coming to you for? And then kind of figure out, where are they looking for third-party credibility? And what are those mediums? What do those mediums cost, right? You can also look at companies like yourself and, you know, maybe kind of do some competitive investigation and see if you can find, you know, what they're doing. In certain instances, if you're in an industry, there could be some, there are, for every industry, I would say that there are, like there's Gartner and Mintel, there's usually research houses. You can even use Pew Research, because they probably look at all industries, right? You can kind of maybe find out and look at your industry and see if there's a certain association that is within that specific industry that does a lot of reporting. And they might have some secondary data that you can kind of glom onto and look at purchasing, right? How much money are people purchasing based upon stuff? But I would also tell you, from a industry's perspective, you know, industry standard in marketing, if you're a small company today, you probably should be spending about, I would say, between, it used to be 8%, it's probably down to 6% now, but you should be probably spending anywhere between 6 and 8% of your gross revenue on marketing activities.
Okay.
The bigger the company, the less the percentage, but I think it's between 6 and 8 for smaller companies today. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I have a quick question. So we do have clients probably similar to Nancy, where maybe they don't have the 6 to 8 budget yet, or they're kind of working to get some of that budget spent. So if somebody had a budget, let's say $3,000 a month or less, or something like that, like where would you say, if you had to prioritize your spend, like people should focus on first?
I don't know, because I don't know what their situation is.
So probably
So
different
I don't
based
know.
on the business and whether it's
based
online
on the business,
or...
the market, the target. But what I will say, and I'll add this on as well, Nancy, is that in the situations that one, Nancy, you don't know what to spend at all. So I think for you, I think it would be great to invest in someone to help you put that strategy together, because out of that strategy is going to come what we should be looking at and what it's going to cost, right? So, and I would also probably say, Shannon, in that aspect as well, is, and maybe they already have a strategy in place, maybe some of that stuff's already done, and it just takes somebody to come in and kind of look at, oh yeah, maybe we need to do this. Because like I said, the decision's going to come out of the framework that's built properly. Because if you don't know the strategy portion, if you don't know all of that information, then it's really hard to make those decisions, right? So that's probably where I would invest my money right now, Nancy.
Yeah, we had a client recently. We were talking about building out like your technology infrastructure, for example, how if you have kind of this 1 to 5 year plan of even technology spend. And I would think marketing is probably similar, because he said, you know, you still have to have like the full plan. You can't say, well, I'm just going to build the garage because that's all I can afford,
right,
when you don't know what the house is going to be. So it was kind of
Right.
similar. It was like, you really need to map out kind of that long-term strategy and what the focus is. And then you can say, okay, well, all we can afford now to do is the garage, but at least we know what we're going to do next. And so just kind of taking
Right.
that time to look at it more holistically from,
Right.
you know, what does it need to look like long-term? I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because a lot of the times what we'll do is we'll do phased approaches as well. Like we'll come in and we'll build the overall strategy and then look at where we want to do, but we obviously might not have that budget. What are we going to do first and where are we going to go next? Because then at least you have a roadmap. You know where you're going.
Exactly.
And you know where you're going to be spending your money. And you know what? It may change. It might be, you know, everything's flexible, particularly marketing, because we might do something that not necessarily is working, and you won't know that until you do it. So one of the things is that, you know, we're a proponent of testing, right? So let's test something, let's spend a little bit of money and let's see what happens. And then we'll figure out, is it viable? Does it look viable? And then we spend more money. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate your time, Liz. Thank you for
All right.
just
Thank
spending
you.
your afternoon with us. And thank you everyone that joined today. We really appreciate it. And Liz's contact information is up there. And also if anybody needs it, like email me and I'd be happy to introduce you as well. So.
All right, great. Well, thank you, everybody. I highly enjoyed it and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you for your time, Liz.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.